Shalom, shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Shemini. And Shemini, as I've said in the past, is number 8, which signifies something that's above nature, the next level, spirituality. As 7 represents the 7 days of the week, 7th is the holiest day of the week, the Shabbat, where you kind of transition from the everyday, mundane, into connecting with the holy. But the 8th is one level up, like we discussed on Hanukkah, that 8 symbolizes the miraculous, something that's above nature. And that's why I want to take this minute to talk about wine and intoxicating beverages, which I feel has this ability to really take people outside themselves, who experience something that's above your own brain sometimes, and you just feel like you can let go of all that garbage and noise that's in our heads and kind of just connect. And I think that's why it's so dangerous and so many people get addicted, and it has an addictive quality, because that is something that is so difficult to do on our own, is to get above ourselves and just to feel just connected with the own spirit and not be bogged down. And this drinking plays a very strong role in this week's Parsha, because after Aaron's 2 sons were taken by God when they brought the Ketoret, which was not commanded by God, God says to Aaron, in the pasuk, he says, read it in English, "Do not drink intoxicating wine, you and your sons with you, when you come to the tent of meeting, that you not die. This is an eternal decree for generations, in order to distinguish between the sacred and the profane, between the contaminated and the pure, and to teach the children of Israel all the decrees that Hashem spoke to them through Moshe." So here, what God is telling Aaron is that when you and your sons serve, don't drink, because when people drink, lines become blurred. You really kind of can connect with the whole idea, I think, of this unity of everything in the universe, that it's kind of like we just came from Purim, and you're supposed to drink ad lo yadat, so you don't know the difference between Haman and Mordechai. And the deeper reason behind that is because we're supposed to understand that there's a bigger picture in the world, and we can't look at things as, this thing in and of itself is good or bad, because sometimes certain things lead to the bigger picture that happen, and we are not able to see the bigger picture. But when you can release yourself from all the pain and all the difficulties that we go through, sometimes you can have a great understanding that sometimes these extremely, excruciatingly painful things are things that are bringing together something else that's beneficial. But because we're so physical and it's so difficult and so painful, normally people have difficulty with that. Aaron had just lost his 2 sons, and the likelihood of drinking to take away the pain was something we know, that we have seen even in the Bible. Noah drank after he had to witness the whole destruction of the whole world, and he got off the boat and all the stress and all the depression, to alleviate that and to be able to just, connect without feeling that pain. And so God's telling Aaron that he can't do that. When him and his sons are going to be the ones who are supposed to, and it says to instruct the nation, they have to be able to have a clarity, because in dealing with the world and in able to function every single day, we have to be able to distinguish between those things. We have to be able to say this is right and this is wrong when we are acting. When we ourselves are doing something, that is something we have to be able to do. And it's only an acceptable thing to do when you're analyzing things that have happened to you, but not when you're instructing and going on in your life. That's why whenever we do something holy, we have kiddush on Shabbat, and the wine that we drink at the Seder, and like I just mentioned, Purim, when we ourselves are experiencing, when we are remembering, and when we're trying to understand God's providence, we need sometimes to drink to relax the mind and to be able to understand that. But then when we're going out into the world, right, and this is I think why it uses these words here in the pasuk, Lavdil ben Kodesh Echol, and it brings me right away to Havdalah, when we're having that last bit of wine after Havdalah, because we're going from the holy to the mundane of every day. We have to then, put that away and function in a way where we can tell the difference between good and bad in our practice and in our teachings of other people. And so this is something that's really an important distinction, is that yes, wine and intoxicating substances can be good if you need to relieve the edge and you want to connect personally with God and a bigger picture. But when you're dealing with people and the world and your everyday activity, you have to make that distinction. You have to make that distinction between this is good, this is bad, when you're teaching your children, when you're interacting with people. And that is an extremely important distinction, differentiation, that Aaron and his sons did not have that luxury, because they are constantly on call to be guides for the nation. And that those lines can't be blurred in instruction for the nation. And so I think this is a extremely important differentiation, and in when it should be okay and when it's clearly not okay. Like, you don't want your teacher of your child, drinking and then teaching them the laws of the Torah. That's not the way it should go. It should be with clarity, clear, this is right, this is wrong. And then when we're absorbing it, and when we're celebrating God and we're sitting at our own table, then let it go and connect in those moments. But then we got to get back to reality. Get back to reality and make those strong distinctions so that we can lead a good, moral, and ethical life. Shabbat Shalom.